Hello, I am Red Mage, and welcome to a Magic the Gathering video featuring the color red. In today's video, Rakdos Midrange in Lost Caverns of Ixalan Standard. This is another deck that's trying to be good against the whole spectrum of the metagame. The key is the value that we get from the Discover creatures, Trumpeting Carnosaur and Geological Appraiser, as well as Bonehoard Dracosaur. These cards give us incredible value that enables a Rakdos midrange deck to be able to compete in the metagame. The single most important card is probably Deep-Cavern Bat. It's amazing how good this card is. The life gain can be huge against aggro, and it can nab a key card from ramp or control that will enable you to finish them off before they can take over the game. Duress and Liliana are trying to do the same sort of job. Prevent your opponent from enacting their game plan so that you can have enough time for the value of your Discover creatures to take over the game. That being said, a mid-range deck is almost never going to be favored against ramp, but this deck can compete. This is a super customizable deck as well. I'm choosing to play Graveyard Trespasser, whereas a lot of decks are playing Preacher of the Schism. I found the ward, life gain, and graveyard hate of Graveyard Trespasser to be key, and this may be a difference of best of one versus best of three. In the mana base, it's fairly straightforward. I'm choosing to play only 2 Restless Vents instead of 3 or 4, because I don't want to be stuck having tap lands too often on a key turn when we want to cast our 4, 5, or 6 drops. The one non-standard thing is Cavern of Souls. I've actually seen decks playing up to 3 of these. I think that's probably a little too much colorless mana for this deck, but this is a card that can really give you some extra value against control decks. Your Bonehoard Dracosaurs and Trumpeting Carnosaurs aren't going to do anything if your opponent counters them, so playing a Cavern of Souls, often naming Dinosaur for those big threats, can make sure that you can actually resolve it in a late game situation versus blue-white control. This is a really enjoyable deck to play if you like the value-y, mid-rangey style of deck, and it wins games in Mythic. I hope you enjoy the gameplay, and we'll be back at the end to wrap up. Alright, this is pretty good. Yikes. Okay. I think we just hope that they can't pump it too much here, and that we can block it and trade with it. So we'll see. Audacity doesn't increase the toughness. Definitely blocking here. Oh, Giant Growth does increase the toughness though. Well, that certainly would have been a reason to play the Bat instead of the Harvester. Oh. What? That's crazy. I wonder if they did that by accident. Surely they didn't mean to. Well, let's see what they got. Oh, well, definitely take the Dragon Engine. Wow. That's a huge mistake there. There's just no need to do that. Yeah, we're not going to block here. The only thing they can cast is the Royal Treatment. We can maybe convince them to cast the Royal Treatment now, thinking that we might have a removal spell to back it up with. Or that they're thinking we're trying to clear the way. Yeah. And that's fine. The Monstrous Rage is the one we're really worried about. +1/+1 in Ward 1. That is fine. And now next turn, we can kill the Swift Spear with the Harvester. And they want nothing to do with it. Alright, we'll need to draw some lands, but we've got interaction. Okay. We just have to name Vampire here, unfortunately. It makes it less likely we'll be able to cast the Appraiser on time, but I don't want to just do nothing. Not blocking. I don't want to give them an extra card, and we've got the cut down anyway. We could hold back the cut down in case they have a Monstrous Rage. Yeah. We'll go ahead and do it now. It can go either way, right? Because if they do have it, they'll probably want to fire it off. In which case we can blow them out, but if they wait, then they could blow us out. Okay. So before we do anything with the Harvester, we want to cast the Appraiser and see what we get. So now I'm just going to go ahead and attack because we can block two different creatures here if we want to. Although we might not block this Gix's Command. Depending on what they have. Okay. Okay. So I think what we want to do here is block the Foundry, and then with Gix's Command we can do lifelink and get back two creatures. That really swings the life total situation substantially. Oh, yeah. The old discard the Phoenix chick to get a back trick. I mean, this is good for them. They're dealing a lot of damage, but... Okay. We can do Harvester plus Bat. That seems good. Let's start first by seeing what's in their hand. That's a good thing to steal. All right. It seems super unlikely with a backup blocker that they'll be able to kill us next turn. And a lifelink chump blocker as well, if it comes down to it. So I think we do this to threaten lethal next turn. Okay. That's totally fine. Definitely going to block the Scoundrel with that Harvester. All right. Let's see what we get with the Carnosaur. So it's important that we attack with the Harvester here so that we can force them to chump block. Otherwise they can get a Phoenix Chick back from the graveyard. That should wrap it up. All right, this looks like a pretty good hand. Unfortunate that we don't have black mana on turn 1. That would surely be good against this deck. Okay. Well, I guess we do the bat, and then next turn we can Harvester plus Duress. Oh, no, we can't, because this comes into play tapped. I guess I'm going to Duress. So they don't have much, but they do have these map tokens and, of course, a dominating board presence. Next turn we'll be able to play both Harvesters. Well, I think we definitely play the Harvesters. I guess we should have attacked first, just in case. They're probably going to make a Murex token. Otherwise, you would think they would have used one or both of their map tokens. Oh. They had nothing in the graveyard. They were just fishing. Wow. I mean, it worked out well for them that that bat's going to be good. Now we have to lose both of our Harvesters. So that's not worth it. We can sacrifice a Harvester next turn to kill the Skitter. So we'll just kill both these rats. So luckily we can kill the Skitter and the bat Yeah, I mean, I don't see any reason to do anything other than kill both those, attack with our bat, play the Trespasser. That all seems good. I guess we'll take the bat. This puts us in a pretty good position. Okay, yeah, just the mastermind. That is fine. So only attacking with one siren. Oh, I guess they want to hold the bat back. Okay. Well, we're not going to attack with the bat. We don't want to trade with the siren. We'll just attack with the glutton and play the Liliana and make them sacrifice a creature. So probably here they're going to activate the Fairy Mastermind as their plan, I would assume. We're essentially just trading the Liliana with a rat token, but that's fine. We've got the long game. It will gain us 1 life too, because they'll be attacking the Liliana instead of us with one or both sirens. Okay. So they can hold back the go for the throat so that they can kill the Trumpeting Carnosaur and not have to lose both their cards. But that's fine. We could just play the Trespasser and the Liliana. That's totally fine. That's great, actually. Okay, so they're going to do it now. So I think our life total is getting a little low. So I think we want to play the Trespasser and the Liliana now. Yeah. And again, we're just trading this Liliana with a 1/1, but we're gonna be saving life that way. Okay, that's good for us.
Fine. I know when I'm not wanted.
I think we let that happen. We do want to cut down the mastermind, but... Okay. We'll hope to draw a 2-drop, but this is a good hand. Cleric. Well, that's not a good sign. Duress is often not going to be good. Okay. Happy to see we got anything there. Is this thing a cleric? Vampire cleric, sure is. So... these both having Death Touch, not ideal. So, what do we have here? So they're drawing a bunch of cards. Great. It's possible they'll have some kind of creature. It's possible they'll have some kind of creature that's not very valuable, so I think we go ahead and Liliana now, so we make sure and get one of their more valuable creatures. It's very unfortunate because they're still going to draw a card even though they're attacking the Liliana. If they were attacking the Liliana while we had the most life, they wouldn't get their vampire trigger. Oh. But they might not realize that they would still get the card. Roaming Throne. Well, we'll start by plussing the Liliana. We've got plenty of lands that we don't need to hold on to. Okay, so whatever the other card in their hand is extremely valuable. Makes it kind of weird that they didn't attack the Liliana. I definitely want to play Sheoldred. It's just that if what they drew is a removal spell, that'll be the worst thing we can do. Yeah. Unfortunately, you know, we'll see. They have something. Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. A Go for the Throat. Is this thing legendary? No. Okay. So they're going to make a token here.
It's no fun when they hit back.
The problem is that either of these other creatures can't block either the Preacher or the Throne. And so they don't necessarily bait out a removal spell. But the Dracosaur is a great draw, assuming they don't draw a removal spell. Although they will draw 2 cards if they attack with the Preacher. First strike is awesome. Okay, that's fine. Well, let's start by cutting down the Veteran. Okay, it looks like they have nothing. Nothing at instant speed anyway. We'll play the Cavern. I guess we play it on human. It doesn't matter too much since we have 2 red mana. Do we play the Liliana? I think so. I think we play it and minus it. We want this appraiser, whatever they have, almost certainly a land. Unless it costs 6 or more mana. And we can start plussing next turn, hopefully after we've emptied out our hand. And we'll just not attack.
Nobody knows Dominaria's shadows like sacrifices must be made.
Or should we attack? I can see the argument. We've got a 3-turn clock here. We're not in danger of dying. Okay. I guess I've talked myself into it. Alright, well, now we can plus because we have a mountain to discard. But they give up. Yeah, at this point, they're just dead on board. If we plus the Liliana, assuming they have nothing relevant in their hand, we attack with everything. We get to drain them for 2 from the Glutton, and then there's 8 damage left over if they block the Glutton with the Throne. And we're back to wrap up. First, I want to mention, I was a little critical of my opponent's decision in the first game to sacrifice their Cacophony Scamp. It seems clear to me now that they were doing that because they had the Dragon Engine in their hand and they wanted to draw a 3rd land to cast it. I still think that that's the wrong move because then you're waiting a whole nother turn to cast a creature that you're then waiting a whole nother turn after that to do anything with. I've played that deck a lot, a different version of that deck, and I think you basically never want to sacrifice your Cacophony Scamp unless you're either going to win the game or you need to kill a Planeswalker or a creature. As far as this deck goes, it's a really enjoyable deck to play. It does have classic mid-range problems that sometimes you draw your cards in the wrong order. You have a lot of opening hands where you have maybe a 1-drop and some 5-drops and lands. That's a little awkward. You often have to mulligan in those situations, but it feels really bad to do that. Although that being said, you're sometimes going to have bad hands like that with all types of decks. I will say that the difference between drawing the Deep-Cavern Bat and not is pretty huge. When you draw this card, especially to be able to play it on turn 2, the games go so much better than when you don't. That may be obvious, but it's a really significant difference to the extent that you might be a favorite when you have it on turn 2 or maybe turn 3 or turn 4, and then an underdog whenever you don't have it. It's definitely not that simple. You can lose plenty of games when you do have it and win plenty of games when you don't have it. I would imagine your percentage chance of winning is going to swing 10% or more having this turn 2. As far as changes that I would make to the deck, I would like to have 26 lands. There are a lot of situations where you are stuck on having 1 less mana than you need. If you have a Trumpeting Carnosaur in your hand, you might be stuck on 5 mana for several turns. If you have a Bonehoard Dracosaur in your hand, you might be stuck on 4 lands for several turns. 25 lands is enough that you're usually going to get to where you need, even if you don't cast a Carnosaur on turn 6. You don't always have to do that anyway. If you're drawing non-land cards, you might have plenty of other things to do. As far as other changes go, I like this configuration quite a bit. I feel like I would need to do a lot more testing in order to decide what to change, if anything. I'm not even sure the one card that I would cut for a 26th land. I imagine it would be either Gix's Command or a Duress, but I really don't want to cut either of those cards. I would maybe consider a Trespasser or a Liliana, but I think that would hurt the curve too much and make it too weighted towards the higher casting cost cards. The deck list is in the description. Let me know in the comments what cards you like to play in your Rakdos Midrange deck, and I'll see you in the next one.